Good morning. Welcome back to the 2016-17 school year. Before we even begin, want to thank everyone so much. Really, the folks who have prepared our classrooms and gotten our schools ready for the new school year need to be commended. They've worked tirelessly through the summer and they're extremely short-staffed. And I hope we can all appreciate the hard work that's gone into getting schools ready for the new school year. And those of you who have had some break this summer, really appreciate all the participation we had among our teachers and administrators in the various professional development offerings that we had. And I know we're all ready for a great school year. So I just want to run through a few of the highlights. And of course, have to give you an update on what our status is for the coming year relative to our budget. I'll only speak about that briefly because there's lots of other really good, positive things happening that you need to know about. So first of all, by way of an update, we finished this year with a budget process that resulted in no impasse, and we did get $4 million in extra funding, and it's called emergency funding. It's one time only, but that ensures that we have a budget this year that will allow us to be balanced. It means that we'll have our money on time, and that there'll be no threat of any sort of a shutdown as a result of any lack of movement in Harrisburg. We have our money. We have our funding for 16-17, and school will go on. So that's a good thing. We don't know exactly what's going to happen for the coming year, and we still have a lot of work to do to convince our legislators and decision makers in Harrisburg that Erie needs help in the long term, not just in the short term. Our schools are crumbling. We have a lot of needs, and we need to make sure that the fair funding formula is implemented a lot more quickly than they've currently provided for. So that's something that we'll continue to work on, and I really appreciate everybody's help. This past year, we wouldn't have gotten the $4 million in additional aid if it weren't for all of you turning out and supporting the big rally that we had at the stadium in October, and writing our legislators and writing frankly, legislators in other places who are key decision makers. And then also attending the big board meeting in May, and then finally joining us on the bus trip to Harrisburg, which I think really tipped the scales in our favor and made it so that we actually do have a balanced budget for 2016-17. So one bit of good news is that we actually have a budget this year. There's no impasse. The legislature actually agreed with the governor on putting more money into public education. And we're really fortunate. We did get an extra $4 million. That's only one-time money, though. It'll help us, but it's certainly going to go away, and it's going to pose a problem for us in the 17-18 school year, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The other thing I know many of you are probably concerned about is what is our status relative to financial recovery. So even though we borrowed money, or actually took an advance from PDE to cover our summer payroll, which should trigger recovery status, the state has decided to put us in watch status instead. And while we're still waiting to figure out what the details and responsibilities are of watch status, it's not as serious as recovery, and we won't have a chief recovery officer assigned to the district, and we feel confident that we'll still have assets that will be deployed to help us with financial planning as we move forward. So no worries about recovery, and no worries about balancing this year's budget. No more cuts mid-year. So this year financially we're stable. We have to continue to work, though, to press Harrisburg to do what's right, to make sure that in the future we aren't dealing with this problem over and over again. So I'm optimistic, and I'm even more optimistic this year than I was last year. Even with all the financial challenges that we had last year, still great things happened. And I know you all worked so hard to make it a successful year, even with all the pressures of the uncertainty of the budget process, the fact that we have open collective bargaining agreements. I know that was all a great stress on everyone, but you still did an outstanding job. And so this year, I'm even more encouraged because of all the work we've done, and because of the fact that our whole region is paying attention to us in ways that they haven't in the past. They're understanding the challenges that you as teachers face, that you as all of our support folks have in dealing with a population of students who have more challenges than those in surrounding districts. So there's an awareness. On top of that, there's action. We have so many people that have stepped forward to help us, and so many organizations. And I'm standing in the lobby at Lincoln School, where over 1,200 volunteers swarmed this building and painted like the murals here in the lobby, refinished the auditorium, which was an example of how our buildings are deteriorating. and painted this entire place. The landscaping outside is beautiful. They even refinished the chain link fence around the tennis court. It's going to be such a nicer learning environment for the students at Lincoln. And at Wilson, same thing. GE Transportation, along with volunteers from Erie Insurance, people from our own district, did the same sort of renovation work at Wilson School. So again, there, our middle school students will enjoy a much nicer educational environment, and our teachers and staff will have a much nicer place to work. And that's all sort of grassroots, community-initiated efforts to help us. There are a lot of other more subtle things that you can see throughout the city. Many of our churches on their signs out in front have encouraging words about our children. Rick Griffith, one of our city's largest taxpayers, has on all of his signs at all of his major properties reminders that Erie's kids are all of our children. And it's that sort of community spirit that I think is going to carry us moving forward. Which brings me to another important initiative that we're dealing with right now. Actually, it's an exciting opportunity for us. You're probably aware that we are looking at implementing a pilot this year for community schools. And the community schools model is taking root throughout the country. There are well over 1,000, maybe 1,500 schools that are now considered community schools, according to a pretty prescribed model. The framework for community schools is that there's some sort of backbone agency. In our case, it'll be the United Way. And then the United Way then solicits donations, directs its fundraising efforts towards supporting individual schools. They do this by contracting with lead partners, agencies that will help to coordinate and provide services for our kids. A lot of the student support services that we're already providing in our buildings, but not in any coordinated way. They also provide funding to pay for it. So when you think of things like social work, after-school programming, all the sorts of resources our kids need that we often wish they were receiving at home or in their neighborhoods, but feel compelled to provide in our own buildings, someone else is going to do it. They're going to partner with us, they're going to help, and they're going to give our principals a chance to be the instructional leaders that they need to be, and they're going to allow teachers to teach. A big part of the community schools effort requires business partners too to make sure that the program is sustainable. So we need funding. And we're really excited that we thought we'd start out with 4 schools. We actually have so much support right now that we can actually support a 5th school. So we're going to be starting the community schools pilot at Edison and McKinley and Piper Burley and Wayne and now Emerson Gridley. And really pleased that we have Hammett Health Foundation sponsoring Wayne School. We have GE Transportation that has chosen to support Edison. We have an anonymous donor helping us at Piper Burley, and Lord Corporation that has stepped up now that will also help in this effort at McKinley. So just it's a great opportunity for us, and again, another very tangible way that our community and our region understand our challenges and are doing everything they can to help. But wait, there's more good news. They set records. You probably read about it in the news. The Erie Community Foundation matches, sort of a prorated basis, the donations that individual nonprofits are able to raise. And in this case, we're so excited because not only did the Erie Community Foundation raise a record $3 million plus through this effort, but the Partnership for Erie's Public Schools, PEPS, actually saw more than a 60% increase in donations. So I really want to thank the 90 people who donated so generously to provide $11,000 for PEPS that'll be used for direct student resources and programming. So thanks so much for that. And again, one more indicator that people know we need help and they're willing to do it. So with all that said, we've got increased awareness throughout the community and region and even in the state of the challenges that Erie faces. And we know we've got people locally who are stepping forward to help our schools. We know we have the community schools pilot coming to fruition even more quickly than I'd hoped. And we've got change to deal with that warrants further discussion right here at central office. So here in the administration building, just a few changes in personnel that you need to be aware of if you're not already. Mary Lou Ripa has joined us in the wake of Geraldine Tate's retirement as the district's receptionist. Teresa Zumagala is now our Director of Human Resources, and she replaces Bea Habursky, who has stepped into Nancy Sedali's role as Assistant Superintendent. So hope you'll join me in welcoming them to the central office staff, and we all look forward to serving you as the year unfolds. So one of the major roles that central office plays in the district's operation is compliance with state mandates and federal mandates for that matter. So often what comes out to the buildings as policies and procedures and different tasks that have to be accomplished are just that. They're compliance measures with the state. We're going to have very limited ability as a central office staff to monitor and provide training for all those various mandates. And so we're going to have to get really smart this year and in the years to come of spending our effort on things that really matter. We're going to have to prioritize. And I think the best vehicle for that, the best place for that decision-making authority at the building level to reside is in what we've been calling our instructional leadership teams. So I think it's going to be more important than ever that we have fully functioning ILTs in each of our buildings that have broad representation so that in matters of curriculum and instruction or building culture and climate or even just operating the building and organizational sorts of issues, that we have a decision-making team to make sure that we're doing things as efficiently as we can. So that's one of the big things I'll be looking for this year. Notice that so far I haven't said a word about test scores. Really, I know that if we do the right things and if we support our teachers, that is all of us. If everybody who works in this district functions with the idea that our jobs are important for student learning, then test scores will come. I've always said that. And I think it's going to be important for us to work together. We have to collaborate within buildings, between buildings, and then between the buildings and central office to make sure that we, just like I said, that we do the most important things. We use our resources and we use our time on things that matter. So we need to have open communication that way too. We can't be afraid to share our good ideas. If something's wrong, we need to bring it to the right people's attention so we can get things fixed. But there really has to be a spirit of teamwork and collaboration, and that's something that we'll have to work on very hard. I know that takes trust, and trust is earned by action, not words, and so we'll have to move forward with that sort of a spirit and mindset. So for my part, I'm saying it to everyone right now, that's what I want to happen. And I know our board supports that. And it's going to take all of us pulling together to continue to operate this district and actually provide a better education for our students. It's going to take that kind of work. So I look forward to that. So all those good things that I mentioned earlier, the increased community awareness, people stepping up and helping us in ways financial as well as expertise, I think it all bodes well for us. This awareness on the part of the state that Erie is in financial crisis and needs some sort of a boost from the state. I think that we'll be able to really move forward with all of those efforts and truly provide a great education for the children of the city of Erie. I'm really, as always, super proud to be associated with this group. I think we've got an outstanding team. When you think about everybody here at this district that for 5, 6, 7 years has been doing a whole lot of work with a lot fewer resources, truly admirable. And privileged to be able to work with you, and I look forward to 16-17, and I wish you all the best. And they'll be here on the 29th, so let's be ready. So thank you very much.